Aloha and welcome to Konacopia Farm. Steve and I have just created a video after 10 years, and this video will show you the changes you have brought in shedding your light to the farm with hard work. So we especially wanted to thank friends and family, apprentices from around the world for the beautiful things that you've done to the farm. So we hope you enjoy the video. Mahalo, keep in touch, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Aloha guys, so this is an updated version of what the farm is looking like these days, and we're up on Middle KA Road right now. My partner Elizabeth Sadhana is doing the videoing. Right in front of us is a neem tree that must be 35 feet high, and it was brought about 8 years ago, and it was about 2 feet high at the time. It came from India. Right in front of us is a papaya tree, and we're walking north toward the driveway. This Konacopia Farm sign up at the top of the road. And the sign is attached to these trees they call a drumstick tree. Comes from India and Africa. It's a great source of protein for people, and it has the pods, when they're small, make a nice kind of a piquant sauce that Filipino people like to use in stews and stuff. Gives it an interesting flavor. The large tree with the red flowers is a mountain apple. You can see the red flowers going all the way to the top. And that puts out thousands of mountain apples. To the right is a tree that looks kind of scraggly from here, but it puts out these amazing orange blossoms. It's called an ashok. That one came from India at the same time that James Bishop brought both of them over. This is the flower of the ashok tree. When you look at it real closely, you can see that it's probably about 100 flowers, small ones that are all in this big group here. It puts out amazing flowers, and this time of year it's just covered with them. Underneath the mountain apple tree, and you can see how many flowers there are going all the way to the top. This is our grandchild's favorite tree to climb. They say that the best mountain apples are always up at the top. They have a delicate flavor, just like Bartlett pears. Okay. So this is the wanabana, or soursop tree. You can see that it's putting out fruit right now. They all grow on the trunk or on the branches. And there are a bunch of them that are up here too now. But we've been harvesting these for several months. They get a lighter green color. Oh, maybe like almost like this one. This one looks like it's almost getting close to being ready. You got lighter green, and these little claws get separated more. They're we usually harvest these in about August or so, and right now we're just getting into the last of the rounds of coffee, making new flowers and all of that. So from August until November or so we'll be harvesting. This is a mission fig. We have 2 mission figs and 2 brown turkey figs on the property. We're just putting them in for the heck of it. They're not a commercial crop. They lose all their leaves in the wintertime, and the leaves have all just come back. You can see this is just starting to bud now. Going to be putting out more leaves on the end. The one that's really tall, and you can see it's all flowering right now. It makes avocados, I'm not kidding, that are probably 8 to 10 inches long, and they weigh at least 3 pounds apiece. There's a substance in the belladonna tree that causes people's eyes to dilate. Doesn't hurt them any, it just causes them to dilate. They use them in the eye doctor's office. This is our tamarind tree, and you can see that there are still pods from last year on it that haven't fallen, especially over on the left. And those are planters that we use for planting ginger and turmeric. There aren't anything, there's nothing to see in there now because it's just the beginning of spring and they haven't started sprouting yet. But we water them a lot because they like shade and lots of water. This is our coffee mill, and when the coffee is ready between August and October, the pickers will be bringing in 500 to 1,000 pounds a day, and we weigh it here, and then it goes through a processor we call our wet mill. It takes the cherry off, which is the red stuff on the outside, and leaves the bean. And we take the beans, leave them overnight, and in the morning we roll this roof back. You can see there are wheels on it. The roof rolls back, and then we put the coffee out onto the roof to dry. Usually, if it doesn't rain, usually 4 to 5 days, we dry it down to 12.5%. And then we take it and bag it up, and then after that we get the little parchment, which is a tissue on the bean, taken off, and get them roasted and bagged up. And a tall, scraggly tree with the yellow on it is a star fruit. This large tree here is a guava. It's just the beginning of spring, so it doesn't have fruit on it right now. But lots of people like them, especially the birds. And then these are some more papaya trees. The papayas just grow at random here because we have so many chickens that wander around the farm, and they eat the papaya seeds and then drop them wherever they go. So we have papayas that grow in various places here. And these are all white pineapples. We'll show you some of them that are, there's a couple right there and a real little one. So here are a couple of them that are getting larger. And we harvest them at the end of June. They're about the first fruit that comes in. There's a nice big one back here. And here's a little teeny guy. And this is a brown turkey fig. You can see it's a little scragglier than the mission. I'm trying to make them both into bushes, but the mission fig is cooperating more than the brown turkey is. This tree is very popular in India. The seeds are used for protein, and the little pockets around the seeds have an interesting flavor, just like juicy fruit gum. This puts out the biggest fruit of any tree in the world. Up on the left, you can see a small one. That is not very large. It'll probably get 3 times that large before it's ripe. Has a lot of latex in it, and so it's tough to cut. So this is a little vegetable garden, and things are planted periodically depending upon the season. Lettuce, eggplant, chard, basil, lots of different herbs, peppers. Bell peppers and things like that don't grow well here because they get stung. These little orangish guys are nasturtiums. I heard they call it, in Italy, they call them Italian penicillin because of the antibiotic quality that they have. They have an interesting flavor and they're edible. Them and hibiscus you can put in salads to kind of dress them up a bit. Big area of lilikoi vines that Shannon has been cultivating for a year or two. Was growing up on a coconut tree, and so she took it off the coconut tree on the right and unwound it, and then made the frame for it. This is taro right here, and what is eaten normally is the roots. They are big and hard. You take them and boil them or steam them until they're softened up, and then the outside comes off. And They process it. They make poi out of taro also, but it's a staple in Polynesia for people. It's their starch. And they also use the leaves sometimes to wrap up food in when they cook it, and sometimes for eating. Here's some more white pineapples that are growing. Pineapples like dry and they like the sun. And here you can see there are a couple of little small tops that are growing out of the sides at the bottom of that pineapple. And what we could do if we wanted to even now would be to take them and twist them off, peel a few leaves off of the bottom and plant them, and they would make new pineapple plants. Looking at now is a pomelo tree. It's a forerunner of the modern grapefruit. You can see in the middle right near the top there's a big yellow sphere. That's the pomelo. They're much larger than grapefruit, but they have the rind on them is probably 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick. These are special to Hawaiian people. Not sure if they consider them sacred or not, but they consider them special, and they don't just go whacking them out like they were a weed or something. And they also use these to wrap up food in. They make lau lau, which is a kind of a food package. Keiki means kid in Hawaiian. This one was just, when the cocos fall, if we don't do anything very often, at the base of the coconut tree, they'll just sprout. And they start to put out little ones. And periodically we'll take them and plant them around the farm. And this just happens to be one. We'll show you 10 others that we planted 10 years ago, and you can see the size of them now. This tree probably put out 500 pounds of avocados at least this last season, and if you look right up at the top, you can see that one avo? Can you see it? Sure. Then you can see there's one big avocado up there that's about to drop probably. A little high for us to pick. And so we kind of picked it all maybe 3-4 weeks ago. We got a few hundred of the last pounds off of it. They're the best tasting avocados too. Left to right from the avocado tree, the citrus that you see in front of you now are tangelos. We planted those 3 or 4 years ago, and they're doing very well. They're an interesting cross between a tangerine and an orange. And then we also have some smaller orange trees that are growing along in here too. But this area right in here is primarily citrus. So this is a cinnamon tree. You can see that some of the branches have been sawed off, the outer branches. And so what you do is you take the outer branch, take a branch, saw it off, shave off the outer bark on it, and then underneath it is a layer that has that familiar cinnamon flavor and smell that we are used to. And that's what you see dried and ground up. The leaves also smell like cinnamon too. They're pretty strong. This is a noni fruit. It's still green. Let me see if I can. Here's one over here. It's starting to lighten up. Oh, there we go. That one up there is almost ripe. Gets white and then a little green at the top, and then it will turn translucent. This is one of the 2 medicinal plants that the Polynesians first brought over to Hawaii when they came here. This and turmeric. Example of a really nice noni bush. You can see how prolific it is. All of these fruit that are all green now and just growing, but they're all going to ripen up and become translucent. When the season is ready to be, when they're mature, in any given day we could pick 1,000 pounds of noni from here. This is a navel orange tree. You can see these seeds just about to start putting out flowers. A few little flowers here just opening up. The place smells so amazing when all these citrus flowers start happening. Now, let's see, maybe I can find baby orange or two here for us. Tangerine trees, they've just been pruned, lots of the center taken out, and we're going to bring them in and make them more bushy like the orange trees are. So these are apple bananas that are planted around. We probably have 6 or 8 stalks that are close to being ready. None of them are quite ripe today, but this weekend one of them may go off. Usually they do when we're not looking. And we wait until one banana starts to turn yellow, and then we have to chop the whole banana tree down because it only makes one stalk. And that sophisticated them so much that, or civilized them I should say, so much that they don't have seeds that reproduce anymore. The cacao drops lots of its leaves. You can see on the bottom it creates its own mulch, and that's where the mites live that actually fertilize the pods, the flowers, and cause the pods to be made. Here's one on the tree. I'm trying not to get in there because I don't want to disturb the flowers. But this is one. Right now this is green, it's not ready. It may look red, but it's actually green. And it will get like a flame color when it's ready. And then we'll pick them, like a red and orange. Some of them get bright yellow. So here's a good shot of the flowers that are growing on the branches. Like I say, they're just taken off. And then there's a pod up at the top that's a real mahogany reddish color, and a couple of them down at the base too. You will split open the pods, take the beans out. There'll probably be 10 or 20 beans in each one, and ferment them for 5 or 6 days, and then put them up on the roof to dry. We dry them down to 7%, and then we process them. Have to grind them up and roast them and all the rest of that stuff. In the wintertime, the Japanese beetles come, and this is what they feed on. We try to keep them under control as much as we can, but since we don't use any poisons or anything like that, then they get their share too. They don't really damage the mature cacao trees, although they can kill little ones. Now they're pretty much going to be gone. We have new leaves that are coming in. You can see the kind of reddish little small leaves on the ends, like here, that are going to replace these, and these guys become a part of the mulch that's underneath the tree. Show you these coconut trees. These were a little like the one we just looked at 9 years ago. We call the spice orchard. This is just kind of odds and ends in a way. We have two seedless limes in the middle with the interesting looking leaves that are like fingers. That's a ulu, or breadfruit tree. We have breadfruit trees growing up in the front too. That and taro are the two real staples of the Polynesian diet. We have 2 fig trees that are out there. AIDU. This puts out little round fruit that has this kind of solid on the outside, almost like a shell. And the inside is kind of custardy. And these are supposed to be good for drying. You can see it has plenty of them on it, really prolific. It wants to grow tall, and I'm having a hard time managing it. I'm doing my best, trying to keep it, create a bush, as you can see, so that they're pickable. It puts out fruit that's looks kind of like an apple, but the texture is more pear-like. Here's a little one that's just starting now. There are a bunch of others that are flowering. But it'll get about maybe 3 times bigger, you know, like a small apple. Tree, our breadfruit, beautiful tree. And we grew this from one of the little ones up at the top. These don't grow from seed either. These pop up from the roots of their mothers. And you have to be careful about how you take the roots out. You got to cut big section and then keep it alive until it's happy. And then you can replant it, sometimes 6-8 months later. You either can use them as a starch, just like a potato, bake them, steam them, make a ulu salad, like potato salad out of them, or you can wait until they get soft because they're really a fruit and they'll get soft and sweet, and then you can make desserts out of them. And meanwhile, this is our mango orchard. We have over 80 mangoes. Last year, the orchard produced about 12,000 pounds of mangoes. They're just starting now, so let me show you. Keat mangoes. We do have some Kents, and those are the ones that are up top here. You can see this mango tree that has all the flowers on it that's kind of chopped up. They like it super dry, and it's dry here, but it's not quite dry enough to make the Kents really happy. And they put out beautiful fruit. So this is the little path to our domicile. We can take you up, walking you up here. On the left here is a vanilla vine that we started 3 or 4 years ago. And you can see these are the vanilla flowers. This is the time of year where they're putting flowers out. Each one of them we have to pollinate by hand using a trusty little hibachi stick. That we separate the leaves, and then we have to take the petals, separate them from the stamen and pistil, which has the reproductive organs on it. That's right here. And then the pollen is on the outside and the female is on the inside, and there is a slight membrane in between. So what I have to do, I'm going to put my thumb underneath the pollen because otherwise it'll just flip right out. And then I have to see, if you'll watch, I have to pull up the membrane and then put the pollen underneath it, squeeze it a bit, hopefully it'll stick. Yep. And then I take it and close her back up again, say a little prayer, and that's it. Yeah, we probably had about 30 flowers on this morning. I bet this week, this is Friday, so this week we've probably had 100 flowers altogether that I've done. Hard for even me to believe. And if we do it if we do it the right way, then it's going to be, the flowers are going to stay on the little bean, on the extension, and dry up. Yeah. And then they're going to get absorbed. You can see this one's getting absorbed into it. And this one also is turning dark green, and it's going to make beans, same as this one. And here's a vanilla bean that's growing now. So yeah, this is just taking off now. We're totally stoked. The beans themselves will take about 8 months on the vine before they get a little bit lighter color and a little more pliable. And then we'll take them off, harvest them. We have to dry them off very carefully, putting them out for a couple hours every day, and then putting them away in a wool sweater. Don't ask me why it's wool. And until they have turned black and are dry, so they won't rot, but they're still slightly pliable. Very tricky. Most tomatoes here don't do too well because they will get stung by something as they get a little bit bigger. But the cherry tomatoes seem to have a thick enough skin so that they don't get bitten, and they have a wonderful sweet flavor. These are just starting to pop. You can see here's a little branch that's just opening up. All these little small orchids. Oh, here's a perfect one. All of these are going to look like that, and it's just going to be profuse with flowers for the next few days. These guys just grow wild almost, as long as they get water. So, here's a poklon flower. And they're very exotic and have an amazing aroma. From what we understand, they use them in expensive French perfumes, so I can understand it. It has a very unique scent to it. This is a gourd that they use to make epos out of it. They're rhythm instruments that the Hawaiians use, and they also used to use them for pots and for storing stuff. Very useful, especially when 300 years ago when you didn't have a lot of stuff. So now, entering our yurt, this is a Pacific yurt, 30-foot yurt. This is where we nest, and give you a little idea of it. Plenty of room for us, for the two of us. Really comfortable, mainly because it never gets too hot or cold here. It's just like a real house. Has a bedroom, dining room, kitchen, office, everything that you need for gracious living. This is a view from our deck also. Sada's taking a picture of all of the mangoes as she's walking forward. Directly in front of us there's white water. I'm not sure you can see it at the ocean, but that's called K.A. Beach. This is my ammo for the pigs. When they get a little too close, I yell at them and make a few piggy sounds like, and then throw a rock in their area, and they'll usually get out for at least 10 minutes. At least until I go back and go to sleep again. That's a mulberry tree right over on the right. We got that free from Planted Hawaii a couple of years ago because nobody ever expected it to survive. And it's been on its own. It's doing pretty good, and lots of berries. So our basic idea here was to use the farm in a way that we would want the world to be used, with no poisons, no artificial fertilizers, trying to understand how each of them grows most successfully, what it is that the plants prefer, and try to accommodate them. We encourage life here on the farm, and because we get so much of it, eventually we have to manage it. Probably will be true of the pigs at some point, because those guys multiply so fast. But right now, they're here, they live here, turkeys live here, lots of chickens, lots of quail, pheasants, yeah, and we try to interfere as little as possible.
Alani, Alani, hello.